Coach, we'll start with your general goals and expectations for this upcoming spring season.
Yeah, I mean, every year is a little bit different. We've got a younger squad than what we had last year on the guys' side, and we've got some new faces on the girls' side too. So we actually got to start here a little bit early and get that cold weather in here. So this week's a lot nicer. We're getting some warm weather and we're getting out, but we've got a good schedule ahead of us. We're looking to finish higher in the conference than what we did last year, and the next couple weeks going to determine that.
You kind of talked about the schedule. You have some non-conference matchups and some conference matchups. Can you kind of talk about those non-conference, matches, and then also the competition in the ODAC and how competitive that can be?
Well, the competition in the ODAC, to your point, has gotten a lot better over the years. We've come from 5-6 teams being competitive to maybe only 1 or 2 not being competitive, and so we really didn't have to go too much outside of our conference to find a lot of competition. But to your point on the men's side, we do have Norfolk State, which is a Division I opponent, to kick things off on February the 15th. And so we're going to head out there and we're going to get some good tennis in and just kind of see where we're at from there.
Coach, have you been able to identify any key strengths of this year's group?
Well, they're new, and so until I put them to the test and really get them in a lot of matches, things are going to change a lot. What I can tell you is that we put a big emphasis on getting stronger in the weight room and doing these kind of things. And when I come back from the break, I'm always interested to see kind of where we land. And the guys are pretty strong out there. So that's going to help as we go into the first few matches and kind of see where we're at from there.
How are kind of, your leaders on the team? You have some close by right now, but how have those leaders kind of been impactful for some of the newcomers on the team and just the rest of the team as a whole?
Yeah, the leaders on our team are great, and they set the pace for the work in general. But we've got a lot to do in a short amount of time, and we've got some young people that are pretty impressionable. So when the leaders step up and do their part on the court and off the court as well, I'm so proud of them. In the classroom as well, they're getting it done. So when you have young kids, I mean, they're pretty impressionable, and they're going to go either way. So we have a strong leadership group, and I depend on them quite a bit.
Coach, you mentioned a couple of times how young this year's group is. How does your role change as a head coach with a younger group versus a more veteran experience?
Yeah, well, for any coach, when you first start coaching, this is my 21st year coaching, one of the things that you have to do, you have to cross the bridge from being a player into being a coach and being a teacher. And depending on the year, you have to be more of a teacher than others. And so, being a teacher, you just kind of have to go over it and then go over it again and again until they start to get it. And you kind of have to have the patience to do that. And so you just have to understand when you have a young squad, you're going to have some days that are so much better than what you thought. And then you're going to have some days that aren't quite what you thought they would be. And you kind of have to weather both of those. But just keep continuing to press the basics and the fundamentals, and they'll come along.
What are some of those, fundamentals and basics that you kind of want to, focus on mostly with the teams right now?
Well, when I set up a team to win, as many coaches do, the first thing that we're going to do is clean up our unforced errors. We're going to clean up our mental errors, and we're going to get a match that we don't give away. So when we have young people come in, the first thing that we're going to do is make sure that we're not giving the match away. And so we spend quite a bit of time on fundamentals, making sure that we're not making mental errors and that we're not giving it away. From there, and it depends on the opponent. Sometimes they have a young squad and sometimes they have an older squad. But if you just start with the fact that you're not giving points away and giving situations away under pressure, that's a good place to be if you want to win.
Coach, what are some challenges that you anticipate to face this year?
Well, the conference, especially on the men's side, is just so much stronger than it was. And so we've got to stay healthy. We've got a good group, but we need to stay healthy in order to kind of hit April where the conference is without any hiccups. And so right now, even this week, we're kind of dealing with a little of this and a little of that. Not any big things, but some little things. And so if we can hit spring break and come out healthy, then we'll be in a good spot.
What do you kind of enjoy just about the Lynchburg community as a whole and being a part of this Lynchburg athletic department?
Well, I've been here, this is my 8th year, and coming from a bigger environment, I just enjoy the family aspect of it. You don't feel like, you're just kind of swimming around in a big ocean. It's such a family atmosphere here. I know so many of the professors, the other coaches, and those kind of things. So when we have success here at the university and within athletics, it's kind of like the whole family has success. So I really enjoy that part of it.
On both sides, is there one particular matchup that really excites you for this season?
Well, I think I scheduled Guilford as our Code Red matches, and so I probably should stick with that. We know their coaches really well. It's a good squad. It's well coached, and it's always a really close match. And so we kind of get excited for those matches. We've got them here at home this year, which is also exciting. So, that'll kind of tell where we're going to be in the tournament, and if we can get through those matches with a win on both sides.
Coach, in one word, describe the identity of this Lynchburg tennis team.
Well, we fight. When I'm talking to recruits, I tell them I take no more than 10 players on my squad, and if you want to be in the starting 6, you have to fight, and you have to fight until the fight is over, and you have to be able to get down in the mud and come back up and get down in the mud and come back up again. If you want to be in the starting 6, you will fight, and you'll fight till the last point. If that's not you, I love you, but you just won't start. And then what happens is you have a culture of that. And so instead of creating tennis players, we're creating warriors on the court, and they just never give up. And if we have that and we go into a match, I feel like we can win just about anybody.
How would you describe the culture of Lynchburg tennis?
Well, I think the aforementioned. If we don't have 6 people going out fighting, and we don't have 4 people sitting on the sidelines cheering on, then we've missed it. And I pay a lot of attention to body language with what we do. And if you've got poor body language and you're frustrated and you're bringing down the teammate next to you, you just won't start. You've got to have a culture of fighting hard and never quit. Tennis is a little different than, say, football, basketball, where if you get up by a certain amount, you can kind of run the clock out. Tennis, you can be up by a big amount, and if you don't kind of stick your foot on their neck until they quit moving, they can come back on you. So it takes a lot to win to get ahead in a match, and then that last 30 minutes or so, it can take even more to get it finished out. So tennis is a little different that way.
Coach, you kind of touched on it with the last 2 questions, and tennis is such a mental game. What are some of those things you try and teach your student athletes to keep their mental game strong on the court?
So we talk about what does it take to overcome. And what I ask them is, what did you come to the court today willing to overcome? Are you willing to overcome one thing? Are you willing to overcome 5 things? And the answer I'm really looking for is I'm willing to overcome as much as it takes to win the match. And so if somebody makes a bad line call, or an official makes a bad call, or if you get an unlucky break and you lose it mentally, because again, there's no time clock and there's no substitutions. So if they lose it mentally in tennis, that can take the whole match away from them. So we really pride ourselves on the fact that we hit the court ready to overcome kind of any obstacle in order to get it done.
Has there been a certain aspect of the game that you've really stressed in terms of preparation over the last 9 months on both sides, whether that be in-game, physically, or mentally?
So this year, again, with the young squad, it was definitely in the weight room. Because what we want to do out on the court is predicated by being strong enough to do it. And certainly staying healthy too, but the weight room has been a big part, and so we want to get out there and we want to get them strong enough, because telling them what to do is one thing, them being strong enough to do it is another thing, especially when you get into the kind of the dog days of April and you've got a lot of matches back to back. You've got to be physically there, you're going to break down a little bit.